Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host Sinead DeVries and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Mark Ellis.
Welcome one and all to the best movie news show in the entire galaxy. My name is merely Mark Ellis and I'm thrilled to be joined by a great panel of panelists today. We got Deadpool 2 news, we have Han Solo news, and somebody on this very panel stole some cheese. Who was it?
Also here is Dennis Zen.
Yeah, I'm glad to be one of the panelists on this panel today.
It's a panel full of panelists.
Yes, I'm also one of the many people here that are trying to recover from this deadly plague that we've all received.
Yes, and I'm heading into round 2. Also here is Perri Nemiroff.
Hey, I'm a panelist on this panel too, and Dennis stole the cheese.
I did not steal the cheese.
Early accusations fly.
did.
Yeah.
And also here is John Rocha.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Red shirt guy back this week. Been a while, so let's get it on today. And I don't know who stole the cheese, but I would like some cheese. I like some Swiss, and I Swiss. Put that right on top of the rye. It's perfect.
You know, the more you talk about cheese, the more you indict yourself, Mr. Rocha.
What?
I am Red Sweatshirt Guy, and Sinead, what do we have up first?
In an exclusive interview with Collider's Steve Weintraub, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 screenwriters Rhett, Reese, and Paul Wernick confirmed that Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus will be returning for the sequel. Though the writers couldn't say just how much they would feature in the comic book follow-up, the confirmation that they would, at least, make an appearance was enough to get fans of the original movie that much more excited for its sequel. Deadpool 2 is still awaiting an official release date, with the production start date said to be happening early this year. Dennis, are you excited to hear that Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus will be returning for Deadpool 2?
Yeah, that actually happened yesterday here on this very desk where Frosty was interviewing the writers for Deadpool, and we got that. Look, we all assumed that they were coming back, but having the confirmation makes it that much more exciting for the new one. You know, they didn't have a ton of screen time in the first movie, but it was a nice kind of deviation. They had a nice dynamic with Deadpool, with his snarky humor. You had Colossus being the Boy Scout, and you had Negasonic Teenage Warhead as kind of like the emo, not talking to Deadpool at all type of character. But yeah, I'm just happy that this is actually coming true.
Perri, we know that Cable and Domino might be making appearances in this film as well, but we also clearly want it to be focused on Deadpool. So do you think there's going to be a lot of screen time for Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, or it's just going to be more cameos?
Probably not a lot, and for that reason that you just said. Also, because you mentioned that they didn't have a whole lot of screen time in the original Deadpool, but it was the perfect amount of screen time for what they were there to do. One of the best parts about those characters was their humor, and how Negasonic's humor is different, Colossus's humor is different, and Deadpool's humor is different, and they all come together to form a super comedy kind of thing there. And that worked so perfectly. The only I want them back. I love them both. The only thing that makes me nervous is Deadpool was great because it felt small, you know? Now all of a sudden we're adding 2 new characters. We got all the old characters. I just hope that they can keep it focused without spiraling out of control here. But I am beyond thrilled that they're back, and I have high hopes that the writers can handle it.
Yeah, I would love to see them pop in for a little bit, if not anything more. And Rocha, when you think about their dynamic in the first film, it was usually that you're showing up to solve a crisis or a mission, and Negasonic and Colossus have one way of approaching that issue. Deadpool has a very different way, and that conflict is where a lot of the humor came in the first movie. Do you think it's the same dynamic in this one, or do you think they're going to try to explore those relationships a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it'll be fleshed out a little bit more. We might even see some domestic scenes with them over at the mansion or whatever. Like, just certainly possible. And with New Mutants coming out, Magic is rumored to be one of these characters in New Mutants, who is the sister of Colossus. And for me personally, I'm such a fan of these 2 characters coming back because I thought they worked really well together. Even without Deadpool, they had their own kind of vibe, and then Deadpool just added to it, like you said, a super comedy team. But for me personally, being such a massive fan of Colossus, they finally got Colossus right on screen for the first time in any variation of an X-Men film ever. So I'm super excited he's coming back. Stefan Kopsik did such a great job with the voice, and Brianna Hildebrand did such a great job with Negasonic. And they're good juxtapositions to Deadpool, because someone has to rein him in. You have to have, and why not a massive steel beast and then a emo kind of whatever kind of girl, which plays really well off of Deadpool, because he likes making fun of everyone else. She subtweeted him the whole film, and I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was so brilliant. And so to me, them coming back it makes me more excited. But I don't mind them adding characters and making this, because I think you have to flesh it out. It's a sequel. You have to flesh it out. You have to expand the universe. And there's rumors that Logan's going to show up in this, possibly, which they tried to shoot down, but you never know.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because for all the rumors that we have of a standalone Deadpool movie where it's just Deadpool and Logan going on a road trip somewhere fighting some sort of crime, I would love to see Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic in a car together going somewhere. That just sounds funny to me. They're like a dysfunctional family. And if you remember at the end of Deadpool, him and Colossus, they ended it with a disagreement, let's say, as to the methods of stopping crime. So if we get to see more of that play out in Deadpool 2, I am all on board for it. All right, Sinead, what's our next story?
Yesterday, Lucasfilm confirmed that Woody Harrelson had, in fact, joined the Han Solo movie, as was previously reported by Variety. Now, while promoting his directorial debut, Lost in London, Harrelson spoke to Mashable about the Han Solo movie, shedding some light on his role in the much-anticipated Star Wars spin-off. "I'm a mentor to Han, but I'm also a bit of a criminal," said Harrelson. "I don't think I'll have a lot of makeup or anything. We'll see how that look develops. I'm meeting with those guys tomorrow, the hair and makeup and stunts and everything. We'll just have a little discussion about that." Mark, thoughts on Woody Harrelson's comments about his role in the young Han Solo movie?
It sounds like exactly who Han Solo's mentor would be. I mean, if you look at Han Solo and his history, he probably didn't have the best parents in the world, or at least the most present parent. He didn't grow up in the McAllister house from Home Alone. Like, he didn't really have a mom and a dad looking after him in the way that you would hope somebody would who is a child growing up in a crazy intergalactic world like what we have with Star Wars. So if you meet somebody like Woody Harrelson and that is your parental influence, he is a little bit of a smuggler. He might be a bit of a scoundrel, even a nerf herder, if you will. I love this idea. Regardless of who they cast, I like that there's a role for somebody like this in the new Han Solo movie, and with Woody Harrelson being that guy, we've seen him play a mentor recently in stuff like The Hunger Games. We've seen him be funny. We've seen him be dramatic. This is the perfect casting for somebody who's going to be influencing the guy that we know as Han Solo. Rocha, are you as excited about this as I am?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about this a little bit on Jedi Council yesterday, this idea of Woody coming in as, like you said, as a mentor. In wrestling, they call that term putting someone over. When the older wrestlers put over, they lose purposely to the younger wrestlers to kind of push them forward. And this is simply what's happening here. And it's such a brilliant move. It's very similar to Michael Rooker coming in Guardians of the Galaxy and helping push over Chris Pratt. It just works to have that kind of mentor who used to be a lead a decade ago or 2 decades ago. He still has that goodwill with the fans, and he's rugged, and he knows how to play humor and serious moments really, really well. And Woody does that so well. And I think it's great to see this kind of pseudo-career renaissance happening for him in these franchise movies, and they're using him in the right spots. Even in that film 2012, he's great as the crazy dude predicting the end of the world. He's just fun and interesting playing these parts, and wherever he's in, you just enjoy him.
I speak
enjoy
for the
Woody.
rest of the panel when I say we all totally forgot that Woody Harrelson was in 2012.
Right, he's
Why
the nutty guy.
does that movie have any place in this conversation?
I'm just saying, he can play multiple things, and when he shows up, even in a crappy movie like 2012, he does great work, and you can't help but watch him as a
I was maybe smelling like a Edge of 17 reference from you. I didn't know we were going to get 2012.
Well, I haven't seen that yet.
That's the magic of the outlaw, ladies and gentlemen. So, Perri, as you try to get the taste of that horrible movie out of your mouth, what do you think about the new Han Solo movie and Woody Harrelson's involvement?
I am beyond excited. I am a huge fan of him. I'm also a really, really big Hunger Games fan. Like the books and the movies, and I love what he did with that role on screen. I thought he was perfect there. And I think he's going to be excellent here, too. He does such a good job playing that range where he can go, dark to comic and everything. And I think he's going to play off Alden Ehrenreich pretty damn perfectly. So when you have him, Donald Glover, and Alden Ehrenreich in the same movie, I think we're going to end up with an excellent trio that could have, a style of comedy to it that gives the movie like a good breath of fresh air, making it feel like something that's their own. The only thing with the whole mentor idea that does make me nervous, and you guys just referenced it, you brought up Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't want this to turn into some sort of storyline where it's like, oh, like when Han Solo like didn't have parents and now he's got a mentor. I just don't want to replay that whole storyline over again, because we already have in the Star Wars universe, we've got Rey looking for hers. So I just want it to be a fresh kind of situation.
Yeah, Dennis, Perri hits on something interesting, because I think one of the criticisms that a lot of Star Wars fans had about the prequels is that we almost got to know too much of the backstory of some of these characters when it would have been better relegated to just mystery, whether it's the midi-chlorians that helped form Anakin Skywalker, or even just seeing like the skeleton of the Death Star, seeing Boba Fett as a little kid. Do you think that there's the risk of having too much knowledge of Han Solo's backstory, or that we need that if we're going to tell this story?
Well, first off, I just learned that Perri has no empathy for people who have no parents.
That's our hardcore East Coast values right there. It's like, don't start whining to me about no
Says
parents.
the guy who doesn't like kids.
Yes,
Carl.
But he
as
likes
far as your
cheese. He likes cheese, though.
But as far as your question is concerned, yeah, there is a danger where you're telling too much of someone's backstory, and then you kind of that mystery kind of disappears. That's the fear with Boba Fett. That's also a concern with Han Solo. You mentioned Hunger Games. Yeah, Woody Harrelson played a mentor-like character in Hamish, and I thought he did a good job with that. He says there's not going to be that much makeup because there's speculation, is he going to play an alien or not? Doesn't sound like it. The one concern also I have is, look, we know he's going to probably play some sort of scoundrel-like character similar to Han Solo, but let's not make him Han Solo Sr., right? We don't want the character to be exactly like Han Solo and then have Han Solo come along and just turn into who this guy was. Have him be different, a little more nuanced, a little more changed from that character.
Yeah, Sinead and Wendy, I'd like to throw to you guys real quick, too. Do you see any potential pitfalls in having a mentor character to Han Solo? And if we have that, is Woody Harrelson the right guy?
I mean, I love Woody Harrelson. I really, really do. And I get excited.
That was a great off-camera note by Cody.
I thought he was talking to me, but he wasn't. Hey, girl.
Hey, go ahead.
And I get excited about everything that I've heard about this Han Solo movie. So it's hard for me not to be excited about it. But I agree with Perri. Like, I would love something a little bit fresh and a little bit new. And I could see this storyline becoming now, like, a little bit repetitive. But at the same time, I don't think any of us can truly judge until we see it, because this Star Wars is kind of has like that recurring theme. That's part of Star Wars. So it works for them. They make it work somehow. And I still have a lot of faith in it.
How about you, Wendy?
I mean, I may be the only person here that's not like that excited about this Han Solo movie. So I like the addition of Woody Harrelson. If he's going to play the mentor, fine. But I'm still trying to convince myself that I am going to be waiting in line getting my tickets to see this movie, to be honest with you. I know I will, but I'm just like...
Well, I think that was the thing. When it got announced that there's going to be a standalone Han Solo movie, I wasn't over the moon. I wasn't like, oh, that's the movie I want to see next. But the moves they've made with this film in pre-production so far have got me more excited, whether it's the addition of Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian in particular, or the people behind the scenes, from having this exciting young cinematographer, Bradford, what's his name, is going to be doing it. Bradford Young is going to be doing that. Warden Miller directing it. Lawrence Kasdan and his kid writing it. They write great dialogue for Han Solo. I think they're going to do the same thing for a Woody Harrelson mentor role. So everything I've seen about this movie makes me believe that Wendy Lee is going to want to be there opening night. We'll have to wait until 2018 to find out. All right, what's our next story, Sinead?
Back in August of 2014, Dwayne Johnson signed on to join the DC movie universe as the villain Black Adam in a planned Shazam movie. Yesterday, and after over 2 years of hearing nothing, we finally have an update. Johnson took to his Facebook page to provide an update on his future in the DCEU, where he teased a few details from a meeting he had with the higher-ups at DC Films. Had a very cool and strategic meeting with the heads of DC Comics about their entire universe, The Rock said. As a hardcore DC fan, to get a real sense of the tonal shifts and developments coming in these future movies has me fired up. Something we, as DC fans, have all been waiting for. Hope, optimism, and fun. I'm excited about our future together, and you should be too. Rocha, can DC give us a fun Shazam movie with Black Adam as The Rock promises?
You're asking me, can they? when we're discussing the idea of can and can't, yes, they can. The Rock is fantastic at these kinds of things. We've seen him already over the last few years take these properties and inject the right amount of humor and playful seriousness from the rundown on to Central Intelligence. He's done this really, really well. And Hiram Garcia, who's part of this situation, is his producing partner who's helped him on Central Intelligence, doing Baywatch, Big Trouble in Little China, Jumanji, like all these things. They know what The Rock works in. And The Rock brings a certain combination of humor and seriousness and playfulness to it. I would like to put a moratorium on this word fun. I would like everybody from DC to stop saying this. Like, just put the movies out and let us decide. We get it. We get it. You've learned the lesson. You're making the change. Now, just buckle down and do it and let us judge for ourselves as fans. You know, The Rock had to sell many angles in the WWE, both good and bad. So if you're going to pick a guy to really carry your film, to do that, to make it humorous, to make it funny, or whatever you want to do with it, I think The Rock's the perfect guy to do that. It's going to depend on the casting. Who is Shazam? Who is Billy Batson? Like, that's what they've got to really figure out. If they cast the right person to play off The Rock, then you're going to have a fun old time with these two. It could be almost a pseudo Deadpool type movie, because they're kind of not necessarily in the mainstream of DC, but they are. They're kind of in and out. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I think that would be what you've got to do, because you don't want a repeat of Green Lantern, which is where you miscast Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan, and you waste a fantastic performance by Mark Strong as Sinestro. You know, you kind of kill that franchise for a while. You don't want that repeat here. So to me, I think it matters on who they cast for Shazam. The Rock's going to be fine. He'll be great. It's a matter of who they cast for Shazam so they can play off each other.
Well, you heard it here first, kids. Rocha put a moratorium on the word fun, so we can no longer enjoy our time here today.
I mean, from DC.
From DC, but I mean, Dennis, I'll put it to you too. Do you think that that's the right term that DC should be using when they're trying to sell us on the Shazam movie?
Well, this is where I agree and disagree with Rocha, like usual.
Yeah, true.
I agree that the word fun that they keep using, like what was it, Jeff Johns, like all these other people trying to like do this with DC. The part I disagree with you about, though, is this, that they learn their lesson, because the lesson is the reason why the DC movies haven't done as well as they expected is not because they weren't Marvel, not because they weren't fun or optimism, all these things that The Rock is saying. It's because of the execution. Because you look at the Dark Knight trilogy by Chris Nolan, that wasn't considered fun and had a lot of hope and optimism. That was a darker series. And if you execute it well, so if Batman v Superman, the reason why it didn't make as much money as they expected, it wasn't because it wasn't fun. It was because they didn't do it, at least in my opinion, like to the full potential of what a Batman v Superman movie could have been. And so I feel like it's not a lesson they learned the wrong lesson. The lesson wasn't like, hey, we want to make lots of money, so let's turn it light and optimistic. It's let's execute this better. I think that's the lesson that should be learned.
Perri, what's your take?
I don't know with this. I want to say something, and I know the comments that are gonna come, and it's like, oh, you're paid by Marvel, and like you hate DC. I don't hate DC. I am rooting for DC so hard all the time. I want these movies to be good. I want all movies to be good. I don't care who makes them, who's part of them, anything. But given how 2016 went for them, and given how they've been making announcements lately, it's kind of impossible to take something and feel like it happened naturally or when it was supposed to. Everything feels a little manipulative. Like they're dropping this little nugget here right now for a reason, because maybe this character could pop up in a cameo. Maybe they're just trying to remind us, like, this is still on the table, guys. Like, we don't really need that. Don't tell me this kind of stuff until it's happening. And, you know, this was pointed out in the .com article. If you look at that picture and if you look at the caption, he only says DC Comics. There's no mention of Warner Brothers. So I just don't know how legit this conversation is in terms of all of us thinking, okay, this movie is going to happen ever or soon, you know? So I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting excited about this beyond the fact that I'm just a big fan of The Rock.
His quotes are just like the wrestling quotes. He's like selling. He's selling. That's what he's doing. He's like, I'm so excited for these changes and this tonal shifts and blah, blah, blah. It's what you do to sell an angle. He is a mess. This is what he does. He eats, sleeps, and breathes this. So I'm not surprised. And you're right, Perri, to question if it's authentic or not, or if it's actually what he's trying to say.
Do you think the timing is on purpose with this? And we also had some, exciting Green Lantern news this week. Do you think that that's used by DC as maybe not a distraction, but hey, we know that there's some talk in the press about Batman being not directed by Ben Affleck. Hey, but look over here, we have Green Lantern and we have Shazam coming out. Do you think that's a strategic tactic on their part?
Yeah, could be.
And
It's
also
a good shell game. Yeah.
Think about Justice League coming up.
Yeah.
So everybody, no matter what, including myself, I'm going to sit through those credits, whether or not, even if someone says before the movie comes out, don't sit through the credits, there's nothing. I will be sitting until the lights come on. But imagine how many more people will be sitting in seats if the possibility is in the air whatsoever about maybe a cameo from a Green Lantern or from The Rock. That's just going to change it and get people way more hyped for a potential cameo there.
Dennis, you going to hang out with us until the end of the credits at Justice League? Do you think we're going to see something from either Green Lantern or Shazam?
I will be hanging out with you guys to the very end, but I don't think it's going to happen. I waited at the end of Batman v Superman for something. Even though we had heard there wasn't anything, I still waited. Didn't see anything. I'll still wait again. Probably won't see anything.
Yeah, and just as to clear things up on the term fun is something that you just experience. Fun is something you have and you feel it. Fun is not something you tell somebody else that they're having. That's like
You're
your
gonna
uncle.
have fun now.
Yeah, like if you're playing backyard football with your family and you get hit, you get like a blindside by your uncle. It's like, come on, get up, we're having fun. You're having fun. I'm not having a great time right now. All right, now we are on to that part of the show that we call Buy or Sell. This is the portion of the program where Sinead is going to give us a topic. We'll simply say whether we buy it or sell it. Then we'll defend our point to the death if necessary.
Lionsgate has released a new TV spot for John Wick Chapter 2. Keanu Reeves reprises his role as legendary hitman John Wick, forced out of retirement once again when a former associate plots to seize control of a shadowy international assassins guild. The movie sees one half of the original directing team return in Chad Stahelski with Common, Lawrence Fishburne, Ruby Rose, Bridget Moynihan, John Leguizamo, and Ian McShane along for the ride. And the movie lands in theaters on February 10th. Perri, buy or sell the new TV spot for John Wick Chapter 2?
I buy it. I'm hyped for the movie. I like everything I've seen so far. This TV spot does not thrill me quite like a trailer would because it's a TV spot. They got 30 seconds to accomplish something, and they do exactly that. A whole bunch of action, a nice beat to it, and then a couple of one-liners that stick with you. There's really nothing special about this 30 seconds. It serves its purpose. I'm already hooked. If you want to check out something really cool, though, they just released something else called the Symphony of Violence Supercut, and it kind of recaps the first film. That speaks to my style of promo, where they cut to the beat of the music with, like, gunshots and people falling and stuff. So, not to change the subject, but that excites me. The TV spot feels like just a well-executed piece of marketing.
So you buy the TV spot, just not as much as you're buying some other pieces of marketing for the same movie?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it. I'm having
like
fun
that.
with this, though.
Fun.
I have fun
you're
with
not
it.
allowed to
Yeah.
say bad words. Do not use the F word here on our set.
You can say it.
Well, Rocha, since you don't
Yeah,
like fun,
I do
are
love
you
fun.
buying or selling this new TV
I don't like
spot?
anyone telling me I'm having fun. No, I loved it, and I'm such a massive fan of the first one, so I was excited to see that they were doing this. And what's great about this is you do not get that Taken vibe. You don't get that vibe that they're coming for the money, that they're actually put a high production value on this. They did go to Europe, which unsettles me a little bit. Whenever they go to Europe, that's them trying to make that money. But the high production value makes it looks really well done, and we go back to the Continental. We get the car back. We have that motorcycle sequence. We have Lawrence Fishburne. We have Ian McShane. There's a lot, and they don't spend a lot of time with the main villain, and that's because it's probably some nondescript European guy that we're not going to need to pay attention to that much. But there's enough going on here for me in the TV spot to just kind of reiterate how excited I am for the sequel. I'm a little like that half the team is coming back. I would have liked them both because they did such a good job of that first one. But I hold out hope that it looks good, that it's going to be good, because it looks good to me watching this TV spot. And Keanu's born to do this. Don't talk much, do a lot of action. He is born to do this. He knocks this out of the park when he does these kinds of roles. It's not criticism. Some people are better less, and some people are better more. He is better less because he carries so much in his face when you watch him that he's interesting to watch. He doesn't have to say a word. He's interesting to watch. So
That's
like
a very accurate assessment. And I'd like to remind a lot of people that not everyone goes to movie theaters on a regular basis, so they might not know that there's a John Wick 2 movie coming out. They don't watch trailers on YouTube, so they might not be aware of all this hype that we're feeling right now. So this is the first time you see that there is a new movie coming out starring Keanu Reeves as his character that, oh yeah, that movie surprised me a couple years ago. I think it's a great announcement TV spot. I think it's going to play really well because I'm going to see this thing roughly 100 times this weekend, I'd imagine. If you're watching playoff football, if you're watching some sort of sports, you're going to get really used to seeing this TV spot. I think it's a great way to sell the movie. How do you feel, Dennis?
Yeah, I buy it as well. I was a fan of the first film, and kind of like the first film, they're kind of waiting to the last moment, because I remember with the first John Wick, it kind of came out of nowhere, and they started marketing it very late, and it was a surprise hit for them. This time, obviously, more of the hardcore fans know about the film and are excited to see it. So, but they're waiting until it comes out early February.
10th.
So very, very soon, and they just kind of started the marketing machine going, which is actually kind of smart to let all the Star Wars Rogue One stuff blow over. I mean, it's not exactly a crossover, but everyone's still recovering from the holidays, the New Year, and everything like that. And so January is a great time to start marketing. I like the spot. I smiled throughout it. I love that scene with the motorcycles.
Yeah.
Seeing Lawrence Fishburne in there, so I'm ready for this film.
Just in time for Valentine's Day. It's a huge buy across the board here at the table. What's our next topic?
As the Oscar nominations loom over the horizon, we can add one more set of accolades adding to the Oscar buzz. The Directors Guild of America. The nominations for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in a Feature Film released include Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Garth Davis for Lion, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea, and Denis Villeneuve for Arrival. The awards will be handed out on February 4th. Dennis, do you buy or sell the DGA nominations, and did they get it right?
I'll buy them. It's always tough to say whether they got them right or wrong because there's so much talent and there's so many great movies out there. I mean, the two notable missing ones is Scorsese for Silence and then also Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge. Those are two big names that you normally would see in these. And then I guess for the first time they're doing this kind of, what is it, like first-time directors nomination. And Tim Miller got one for Deadpool. Wow, this film that is getting so many award nominations that I just didn't expect with the PGA, Writers Guild, and now with the DGA. That it's actually kind of a surprise, especially since one, it's a comic book movie, it's a rated R comic book movie, and two, it came out last February. It wasn't like didn't come out in the fall and like everyone's still buzzing off it. So apparently it must have struck a nerve within the Hollywood community.
It's a sell for me simply because I can't imagine not getting Scorsese or Gibson in there somewhere. Now, I definitely would not take out look, Barry Jenkins doing Moonlight and Denis Villeneuve doing Arrival are the two ones where and Damien Chazelle doing La La Land. It's like it's really tough. It's really tough to squeeze that into 5 people that you can only have for this category. So even as I'm talking about it, maybe I do have to buy it a little bit because I like all those names. I like everybody, and I appreciated what they did. It seems like Hacksaw Ridge and Silence might have been more of an achievement than some of the other movies, but there's nothing in there that I want to take out. So I'm conflicted, Rocha. Help me. Should I be buying or selling it?
You should be buying this, absolutely. Scorsese's had his time, and there's no need to cater to him again.
Is that fair to say that,
I
though?
think it is.
Like...
I think it is to a degree because it's not like they're getting these nominations as being token directors for these pieces. These pieces are fantastic.
Sure.
Lion and Moonlight are amazing, amazing films, and they're getting the reverential treatment that they deserve. Scorsese's had his time, and there's nothing wrong with it. Silence, I haven't seen it yet. It doesn't excite me. I don't know if anyone's seen it here on the panel, but it doesn't excite me that much. So
it's fun.
I don't have a problem.
Fun is the opposite of what Silence.
Really.
And this is from someone who really likes the movie.
I love it.
Fun is not how I would describe Silence.
And I got no problem with Mel Gibson not being nominated because he's still on his kind of like coming back tour. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't put Gibson and Nate Parker in there. You've got to kind of make your choices in that way. Nate Parker obviously being in the first-time director. It's kind of interesting that he got through to that because a lot of people wanted to bury that film and bury him. So it's interesting that he's in there. I'm a fan of Tim Miller being. I think Deadpool is interesting, Dennis. You brought this up, and it's because I've spoken to a number of people who've never gone to a comic book movie and they loved Deadpool. There was something about Deadpool. So I think Deadpool, in a way, in some weird kind of way, in some independent movie kind of way, transcends the genre of comic book movies, and it kind of crossed that line for multiple people, multiple generations of people. Like they actually went and enjoyed it. There are multiple segments of society that wouldn't normally go to a comic book film, and so I'm not surprised by the love it's getting. It does say something about them not bring him back for Deadpool 2, that he's getting all this kind of love. But I like this idea, and look, I love Perri to death. There's no way Chazelle should win over Denis Villeneuve. There's no way. There's no way. I've seen La La Land twice now.
That coming
It's
from
a
the
good
guy
film.
who likes Transformers and hates fun.
Come on, I
Think
didn't say
about
hate
that.
fun.
Think about that, guys.
You can't sit on this panel and defend Independence Day resurgence the way that you did, and then have any credibility. I will say this.
Got a lot of love on Twitter for that. You'd be surprised.
You have convinced me to buy this, and one of the reasons I'm buying it is because I like that the best first-time director is not a consolation prize, a lot like the best musical or comedy is at the Golden Globes, because Garth was directed for, but he was nominated for both. For doing Line. He was both for first time and I like seeing Kelly Fremont Craig get some love in there too for Edge of 17 because she deserves some sort of recognition for that work. Now, Perri, are you buying this? Or are you going to let your conflict with Rocha seep in and sell this piece entirely?
I am buying this, and I'm not even buying it just because of who made the cut and who got these nominations. I'm just buying everything award season related just because this is my favorite time of year. I don't care if it's the Golden Globes and you don't think it matters. I just love when we get those X amount of months when we just get to celebrate people's achievements. Whether it's your favorite achievement or not, it makes me so proud to be part of this industry this time of year. So I'm just really hyped to see how everything pans out. I rewatched Deadpool last night, given the Guild nominations it just got, because it came out. I liked it a lot. I wanted to rewatch it, but I never really got around to it. It wasn't one of those movies where I said to myself, oh, next weekend I need to go and buy a ticket and see it again. But I watched it last night. It really is. It is an exceptionally produced, directed, and written film. It is so, the writing is just so tight and on point, and all the performances, I'm so glad, and I really do think it deserves to get the praise that it's getting. Do I think it's going to get an Oscar nomination? Probably not. Definitely not in the Best Picture category, but, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it snuck in there for a writer's award, not directors either, but there's just a lot of possibilities that we need to start considering now that this movie is getting so much recognition from the guilds. But in terms of the 5 that were nominated for the actual honor, it is a big surprise to see Garth Davis nominated for both the first time and the main category because, think about how human beings think. You have X amount of nominations to give. Oh, I'll give him the first time one so we can include Scorsese or Mel Gibson in the main category. But that's not what happened, and that's making me think he's pretty much a lock for a Best Director nomination. And the rest, so well deserving. This is pretty much the list that I would have expected. I saw Silence. I thought Silence was a fantastic film. Okay. I will never watch it again. And that's a kind of movie that
That's tough subject matter, though, too. It's not like, oh, I didn't like the way. Like I was blown away by that movie on multiple levels. One of which is that it did not feel like it was a classic Scorsese movie. There's no Rolling Stones. There's no like huge. There's a couple like those zoom in shots, but you're not thinking like, oh, that's Scorsese being Scorsese. He really took himself out of the movie and directed this piece the way it should have been told, and it blew me away.
There's no rat going across the railing?
There is a rat going across the railing, yeah. And look, we can debate who should win the Directors Guild Award till we are blue in the face, but I think we'd rather talk about King Kong.
A new Japanese trailer for Kong Skull Island has been released. The movie, which will introduce the giant monster to a shared universe with Godzilla, is directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts and stars Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, and John C. Reilly. Kong Skull Island opens in the U.S. on March 10th, 2017. Mark, do you buy or sell the Japanese trailer for Kong Skull Island?
I am buying this trailer with all the money under my bed right now. This is so exciting to me. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on, but I'm looking at the screen and you see all the action. They did a great job of setting up the same way they did in the United States trailers, where you clearly see that this is not the classic King Kong story where, oh, there's this evil beast that we have to stop. We're rooting for King Kong the minute we set foot in that theater, and I think that is awesome. I like rooting against humans, whether it's with mutants or dinosaurs, or in this case, kick-ass apes. I cannot wait to see King Kong. How about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I'm going to buy this as well. There's, a lot of footage we've already seen before mixed with some new footage. We saw that Apocalypse Now shot with the helicopters and the sunrise. But this time we saw the shadow of King Kong arise. And then, Rocha, you were talking about this earlier. Like, the Japanese have an interesting way of promoting their trailers. There's a guy shouting at you.
Yeah.
He's not talking to you. He's like shouting at you how good this movie's going to be. And he's right. This movie's going to be awesome.
How about you, Perri?
I buy it, not enthusiastically, just because Well, there wasn't that much new footage in this.
Okay.
And, it's an international trailer. It's not made for me. I didn't understand the voiceovers. Well,
But he was shouting. He was shouting.
He was
America.
shouting. He was shouting.
He's
So
shouting
it was
at you to
fun.
have fun.
Yeah.
America. Yeah.
But, it still looks great. It was a lot of the shots that I saw in the first trailer, and I love that first trailer. That first trailer was one of my favorite trailers that came out in 2016.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed seeing that here, but this trailer wasn't made for me, so it didn't excite me as much as that one did.
Well, Rocha, you and I have a timeshare on Skull Island
We
that
do.
we frequent. Do you think this trailer is representative of that place we love vacationing at?
Absolutely. I love it so much. I took the rest of the money that you left on the bed and put it in because I buy this so much. I'm so excited for this. I'm becoming such a phenomenal fan of Brie Larson. I love the Hiddlestons in this. You get skinny John Goodman. You get Sam Jackson finally not doing what he did in that Tarzan movie. There's like other things that can distract you. So to me, this looks massively exciting. And you've got 3 levels of stuff going on. You have Kong, you have the humans, and then you have these things under the earth, which are the main villains of the movie. So there's so much to be explored here. The way it's shot, the way the trailer was done, the way it was, and then the voiceover. That Japanese guy can voice over every trailer I ever see for the rest of my life. I don't ever need to see an English trailer ever again. Please let him voice even like a romantic comedy. They love it, something. He's so good. And it's made me more excited because I'm just a massive fan of the Japanese culture. So like to me, seeing this was a perfect way to watch an international trailer. I don't have to understand a word you're saying. I get it. And so I'm super buying this.
Maybe you're not the right guy to see Silence after further consideration.
I saw it already when it was called The Mission.
We move on to our top 5 box office predictions. This is one of our favorite parts of the week, brought to you by our friends over at AMC Theaters. Make sure you check out amctheaters.com for all the latest box office, showtime, and ticket information. So what we're going to do here in the panel is we are simply going to say what we think the top 5 movies at the box office this weekend are going to be. And I'm going to start. I know Perri and Rocha love fighting about this, so I'm going to let the classy person get out of the way first. That would be Dennis. Who do you think is going to be coming in? Let's order it from your number 1 movie all the way down to number 5.
Number 1, I have Hidden Figures, who actually ended up beating Rogue One when they tallied up the official numbers last week, because I think they had thought Rogue One had won, but now it was Hidden Figures. So that's going to be number 1. Number 2, I have Patriots Day. Number 3, I have Star Wars Rogue One. Number 4, I have La La Land. And number 5, I have Sing.
All right, Perri, throw some mud Rocha's way.
All right, here we go. I am starting with Hidden Figures, and that wasn't an easy thing to settle on, even though it's crushing it right now, because I kept comparing Patriots Day to Lone Survivor, which had a very similar release, and Lone Survivor made a crazy amount of money when it came out, wide release in It made like almost $40 million or something. That's not going to happen here. So I'm giving Hidden Figures the number 1 spot, going Patriots Day number 2. I've got Rogue One at 3, and even though I think Sing will do well, given all of the award season buzz, I'm saying La La Land at number 4 and Sing at number 5. And I will say, because everyone's like, oh, like the new releases aren't going to do well, the Bye Bye Man, I think it's going to wind up making something like $10 million. Which would cover its production budget.
Yeah, it
so
costs
it
like
might
$6 million to make. So
it might not be in the top 5, but that movie is certainly going to do well enough this weekend.
Rocha,
Yep.
Nemiroff throwing some serious shade your way, bro. You
Bring
gonna
it on.
answer?
Was a inside pitch. Hidden Figures definitely number 1. By the way, people aren't talking about this film enough. It's 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Why isn't this film nominated for Best Picture? Why isn't this director nominated for Best Director? I don't understand. This film is universally loved since it came out, and it came out in Oscar season in December. So it's just shocking to me that it's not getting enough love. Patriots Day definitely number 2. I think the only reason it's number 2 is because it's a provincial film. It's Boston. It's this kind of, and some Boston columnists are pushing back against the film because Mark Wahlberg is a created character for the film, and everyone else in the film is a real person. And so it's just interesting how that's kind of undercutting some of the base of that film. So I don't think it's going to score as high. And I think Deepwater Horizon is a better combination of those two guys, Berg and Wahlberg. Sing, I have at number 3 because I think people are going to still be wanting to bring their kids. And like you said, the post-holiday haze, they're going to put their kids in the theater and just relax for a couple of hours. Rogue One, number 4, definitely. It's still killing it. And La La Land, number 5. And I've gone twice already. I like the film, and I think people are going repeat viewings. Like you said, it's award season. People want to see this film over and over again, see if it should win Best Picture.
Yeah, I think Hidden Figures is a movie everybody should check out. You can get a lot out of that movie, and whether it's Janelle Monáe, Taraji P. Henson, or Octavia Spencer, they could all be eyed for a Best Supporting or Lead Actress nomination, as well as Theodore Melfi for directing the movie. Having said all that, I think Patriots Day comes in at number 1. I think Patriots Day is 1. I think Hidden Figures is 2. I'm going to have Rogue One at 3, and then I'll have Bye Bye Man just missing that at 4, and then I'm going to throw Live by Night on there at 5, because it's not getting a lot of good press. A lot of people would rather ask Ben Affleck about the next movie he's directing, but he is a big star. This movie did have some Oscar buzz, at least when it was released, if not now, so I think people are curious to check out. It's a gangster movie. There is a market for that, so very, very different box office predictions. I can't remember what I just said for mine, but I'm sure it's going to be right come Monday morning. All right. Well, right now we actually want to run to a clip of the writing the Deadpool 2 is 2 guys, I believe, and John Campea was able to interview both of them right now. So we're going to cut to that clip. Let's do it.
It's really funny because a few months after you guys were in here last, the movie Don't Breathe came out, and we were privileged. Sitting in that chair right there was actor Stephen Lang, who was sitting in here, and that was at the time just after, I believe, that, you know, everybody was now buzzing. Cable's going to be in the next movie. And we had so many of our fans writing to us, oh, my God, they got to get Stephen Lang. And Stephen Lang comes in, and we're sitting with him. And he actually came up to me afterwards. And he goes, hey, you had Rhett and Paul from Deadpool on recently. I said, yeah. He goes, man, they did a hell of a job. You let him know I'm watching. But how
I don't want to mess with Stephen Lang.
Oh, he was so great this year. But where are you guys at right now in your search for that guy? Because casting Cable, I mean,
it's tough.
That's a conundrum. Where are you guys at in the process? Where are they right now?
It's a pretty short list, but no final decision has been made, and it's above our pay grade a little bit. So we might be able to nod or shake our head or say yeah, but ultimately it's not even close to our decision. So, but it will be soon. My guess is not before long there will be a Cable hire. Yeah.
Now, moving into the second one as well, obviously coming off the success of the first, you guys were able to enjoy that ride as, you know, that underdog story, that Rocky versus Apollo kind of story. Have you guys found that you've been able to keep that mindset? Like, we're this small group of people that we're just making this movie that we have a lot of love for, or have you found that the pressures of success have altered the way you do things at this point?
We're trying to maintain that passion and push out the voices, and the voices have not been that loud in our ear. The studio has been fantastic, letting us do our thing. You know, we've been locked in rooms with Ryan Reynolds, which is, you know, there are worse things to be, you know, worse people to be locked in rooms with, and so yeah, I mean, we do feel like the underdog. We're trying to maintain that underdog feel, push out the pressure, and write with passion, the same kind of passion we wrote with on the first one. It's just that this one's not going to take 6 years to make. I mean, this one, when we have a script that everybody's happy with, we're going to go off and shoot it, and that's exciting for us.
Thank you to Rhett, Reese, and Paul Wernick for dropping by the studio, and thank you to John Campea for being such a well-spoken young boy. We want to remind you guys, at the end of this very show, we're going to save some time to take your live Twitter questions, so go ahead and start tweeting them right now at Collider Video. And we also have a lot of exciting things happening in the Collider family right now. First and foremost is that Collider.com is looking for the biggest Wolverine fan in the world, and you might win a trip to New York City to get to interview Wolverine himself, Hugh Jackman. Perri Nemiroff, how can we do that?
All right. Cool contest. Let's get the bummer news out of the way first. You got to be 18 years or older to enter this thing, and you have to live in the U.S. I am sorry. I love everybody outside the U.S., but it is just the rules of this thing. So if those two things apply to you, all you got to do is you send an email to the Collider mailbox at gmail.com, and Steve Weintraub is going to be reading those emails. He is participating in the Logan Junket at the beginning of February, so he wants you to convince him in that email why he should have you join him at that junket to talk to both Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. It's like a crazy cool contest here. I've done my fair share of junkets. It is fun talking to those two guys about that movie. I mean, I'm already insanely jealous of whoever wins this thing. If you didn't catch that email address, go to Collider.com. They have an article that lists out all the rules and all the dates, too, when you need to enter by. I can actually tell you that right now. They're collecting entries until January 24th. They're going to announce a winner soon thereafter. And then when that winner goes to New York, follow all the social media, Collider Video and Collider.com, and they're going to be documenting the whole weekend and their experience there. So check all that out. Enter if you can, and good luck, guys. Second plug for you. So there's a big event coming up this weekend that I've been training super hard for with Ace from Schmoes, and I'm already sweating because I'm so freaking nervous about this thing. We're going to run the Star Wars The Light Side Half Marathon at Disneyland this weekend, Sunday morning. If you want to follow, I mean, these are just crazy huge events. They put on such a good show when you're there, so it's not just running and staring at a road. They have people out there. They have characters. It's just a really fun event, and we're going to post as many pictures as we possibly can. So keep an eye on my Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff and the Collider Video account as well, and we're going to post as much as we possibly can. If you're in the area, come on out. It's a whole bunch of fun at the finish line. Come and cheer us on. If you're not, you can still track us. There is the Run Disney website. You can find the tracking link there. My bib number is 801 and Ace is 3573. So if you can plug those in, you laughing. You can plug those in and you can track us as we start and finish the race. So there you have
I'm
it.
gonna stalk you the whole time.
I am so
Can I send
super
notes?
excited for you guys to go down. I mean, look, a half marathon is 13.1 miles. That is no easy task, as I know personally, because I had the offer to go down and do the race, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it this time. Make sure you guys are following Perri on Twitter and Ace from Schmoes at Squad Leader Ace. Very, very excited for you guys. If you got to walk a little bit, it's okay.
Hell
you
no.
still made it.
No.
Oh, wow.
That's
You know
against
what?
the rules.
If you're
No.
a fan of Perri, by the way, make sure you guys check out. She did our Hidden Figures review for Collider. That went up on the channel yesterday, and it's live right now for your enjoyment. Later on today, we have the Movie Trivia Schmodown Top 10 Rankings of 2016. Hey, we might be in that. That special video is going to be dropping at 2 p.m. this afternoon. And this weekend, we have a lot of new things for you as well. We have Mailbag dropping on both Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. PST, and Best of the Week is going to drop on 2 p.m. PST on Saturday. Make sure you guys keep checking back here at Collider News for all of the breaking stuff that's going on throughout the day, and of course, Movie Talk back here on Monday. All right, well, before we get to Twitter questions, we do have some mailbags to get to. You guys can send us your question anytime. collidervideo@gmail.com. We always try to get to these, whether it's on this show or on Mailbag. What's up first?
Chip Hayhurst writes, hello, crew. My question is, if you could take one recent movie back in time and show it to your teenage self, which one would you pick? My pick would be Doctor Strange.
It was very hard for Rocha and I to keep this answer clean, but I think we managed to be able to do it. Look, if you have to take Star Wars out of the equation for me, because I've actually had this thought multiple times. If I could go back and show my teenage self just the trailer for The Force Awakens, like the amount of excitement I would have watching that, I don't know what I would do with myself, but it probably would be unlawful. So if you take Star Wars out of there, I think the movie that I keep going back to is Inception. For whatever reason, because it like the way that my imagination was working back then, where you're becoming more creative and you're starting to have more free thoughts that aren't just about Fruit Loops and Sprite, and seeing something like Inception can really expand your mind in a cool, inventive way and get those creative juices flowing. So that's a good movie, I think, to show to a young Mark Ellis when he's not eating nachos. Now, John Rocha. You and I, we both grew up in the wilderness of Virginia.
Yes, we did.
What is the movie that you would show your teenage self to get yourself back in from making forts?
This is like a Hollywood Squares moment. Paul Lynn, Fatal Attraction. Don't cheat on your wife. No, I would say my choice was, and this is honest truth, and I can't take Star Wars out of it. For me, it's Rogue One. Only because I became a cinephile when I was a teenager. I raided my local video world back in Virginia, and I watched epics and classic films. So to me, whatever I could show myself now is the same stuff I would have seen back then anyway in a different film, but still the same. To me, seeing a Latino lead like Diego Luna carrying a sci-fi franchise like Star Wars, for me, of course, Jyn Erso is the lead, but Cassian Andor is just as big of a lead in that film. And what has come about because of him being cast in the lead, that Facebook profile that was done, or the Facebook message that was put out there by that person, like all those things are really important. For me as a Latino kid growing up, wondering if I could make a living being in Hollywood, being in the world, being in the lead or whatever as an actor, to see that, I think, would have been so moving and powerful for me, because we didn't have a lot of lead actors that were Latino. Even the lead actors that we thought were Latino in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or in Magnificent Seven was Eli Wallach, who was a New York Jewish guy. So, you know, we didn't have those kinds of people to aspire to, and I think what Diego did in Rogue One would have been fantastic for me as a teenager to see that and be like, yes, it's possible.
You had Video World, I had Video Update. Perri, what was your local video store, and what movie are you showing your teenage self?
Hollywood Video, I think, was mine.
Oh yeah, Hollywood.
I love. Yeah.
Yep.
God, I miss those days. Well, I have 3 movies. My first movie is The Purge, but that's just so I could steal that idea, make it my own, and make it better. Edge of 17, because that movie,
that's good,
movie so perfectly captures what it feels like to be a teenage girl and to feel like everything bad that happens to you will ruin your life. So to see that perspective, Haley Steinfeld in that role just plays it so well. If I could have experienced that movie as a teenager, probably would have been able to cope with my problems a lot better. And then the other one is Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, I saw quite a few times right as I was making the decision to move here. And I feel like if I had seen a movie like that at a younger age, I probably would have built up the nerve to suck it up and take a chance like that and move away from home far sooner.
You throw up on the ship. You do all that.
I'm not
Have your bowel
I'm not
movements.
taking a ship across the country. And wow, that got weird fast.
All right, Dennis, your local video store growing up, and what movie are you showing your teenage self?
Can't remember the local video store name. Eventually, you know, Blockbuster came in and took over and wiped it out. And then they were eventually wiped out by Netflix. This is not because it's the best movie, just that it would be the one that kind of would blow my mind the most in terms of it actually getting made is Watchmen. It's a movie I like and enjoy, but like, you know, I read a lot of comic books when I was younger and a teenager, and at that time you had Batman, and then you had like sprinkles of good comic book movies here and there, like The Crow, but they're far and few between. And I thought eventually, okay, Spider-Man, Batman, those movies eventually would come. I never thought I'd ever see a Watchmen movie. It's my favorite comic book of all time. I just thought it was too weird and out there that they would never, ever make a movie out of it.
All right. Well, we love to hear from you guys as well, so make sure you comment on this here vid and let us know what movie are you going to show your teenage self. And again, like Rocha and I were able to do, try to keep it classy. All right, like I said, we're going to move on to live Twitter questions right now, and the gatekeeper today is the one, the only Miss Wendy Lee Zaney. Wendy, what are the kids telling to us in Twitter?
All right, first one comes from Don Dave 96, who writes, thoughts on Doctor Strange being played by a double for Infinity War and reshoot it later with Cumberbatch.
You know, I saw this earlier today, and I didn't know if it was a real news story, if it was a fake news story, but what the reports are is that for Infinity War, it's going to be some dude dressed up as Doctor Strange, could be me, could be Rocha, filming that movie. And then later on, because of a scheduling conflict with Benedict Cumberbatch, it's going to be him shooting his close-ups and then them wedging that into the movie. On its ear, I hate this. I absolutely hate this idea, but with modern technology, you know what? At the end of the day, if the product looks good, when I see it in the theaters, whether it's you had reshoots or you had this or that go on behind the scenes at the set, I'm going to be okay with it if it blends well in the film. And Dennis, we heard reports of them shooting different scenes in Doctor Strange that didn't necessarily mesh with the timeline. Like there's an action sequence in Doctor Strange that they shot well in advance of everything else, but it blended into the movie where I didn't notice that. So I think I would have to be cool with it if they pull it off. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, on paper it doesn't sound that great, but in execution, maybe if they hadn't told us or we didn't hear about this and we saw the movie, maybe we wouldn't have noticed.
We would have no idea.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it doesn't sound that great, but if they actually pull it off where it's seamless, I think I'd be okay with it.
And Perri, you hear the word scheduling conflicts and you think, well, maybe Doctor Strange isn't going to have that prominent of a role, at least in the first Infinity War. Is that how you take this news?
Oh, that's not where my mind was going. I mean, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to predict that at this point. I just don't. The story upsets me. It bothers me a lot. It feels like a cheat. Exactly what Dennis just said. I don't like that I'm aware of it now. I mean, it's like what we were discussing on Jedi, not this week, but the week before with the TIE Fighter shot. I sat there, and it didn't ruin the movie for me, obviously, because it was one of my favorite movies of the year, but I sat there waiting for it and looking for it now that I'm aware of this. Also, because I have a habit of when you're shooting a conversation with two people and you can see someone's like chin in their profile when their mouths don't seem to match up with what they're saying.
I can't stand
I
that.
notice things like that, so I can already picture myself now sitting in a theater and being like, oh, that's Cumberbatch. That's not Cumberbatch.
Interesting.
Rocha, is this story fun?
Fun. Yes, it is. And you better make it fun. No, I don't have a problem with this at all. This happens all the time, stunt doubles and what have you in these kinds of situations, and it's CGI and all that. So I'm not surprised by it. And Cumberbatch is such a good actor that that's what you go to. I mean, if you're taken out of the movie because, I mean, they're going to find a 6'1" willowy guy to be this guy, and so it's not going to be an issue, I don't think. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, he's very thin,
The
tall.
willowy 6-footer at shooting guard.
Because it's not going to be me. It's not going to be a 5'10" large Bolivian mammal doing it. So it's going to be someone like him, and it's going to be a stunt double they find like that. And we're not going to be able to tell the difference. I guarantee we're not going to be able to tell the difference because they're going to do such a good job with technology now, and I think we're going to be fine with it. And this is just a story.
At least they get to plan for it and not have to wedge it into the movie at the last minute. So I guess that's good news. All right, what's up next?
Next one comes from J-Ro, who writes, do you think Metacritic is a decent alternative to Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't take any of them too seriously. I think Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes are both nice guidelines if you're curious about how the rest of the world is feeling about a movie. But my opinion is always never let anybody else tell you how you should feel about a movie. If you want to come watch the Collider Hidden Figures review or you want to watch the Schmoes No Take on Underworld, that's fine. But you should tell yourself how you feel about the movie. Use it as a gauge to see whether it's worth the money to pay. And I think Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes do a capable job of telling us, should we be spending $15 on this movie in the theater or wait until we can watch it for free? How do you see it, Rocha?
Yeah, what I always do is I find a film critic that I really respect and like.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah. No, I find a film critic that I really respect and like, and then I like that person is not going to like everything you like, but if they're liking 80 to 90% of what you like, then you've got a good barometer, a good blueprint for you to read the review and see if you want to go see the film. For me, Peter Travers was my guy for a long time. Like, if he liked a film, I went and gave it a shot. Sometimes he liked stuff that I absolutely hated, and sometimes he loved stuff, or I liked stuff that he absolutely hated. And so it was just, but for the most part, he was supremely right. Ebert, Siskel, I was always on the fence with those guys. Gleiberman on Entertainment Weekly, he was on Entertainment Weekly, was a good one too. But I always felt Gleiberman and Travers were my two guys, and I could rely on them.
Perri, aggregate critic websites. What do you think?
I'm a big fan of them just because I think it probably gets more butts in seats. I mean, it's very handy to look at one of these websites, see a super high score, and then all of a sudden someone who might not have been interested in seeing a movie says, oh, I will go see that. And, you know, when it comes to big franchises too, I don't think the rock bottom numbers will drive people away. People are still going to see it no matter what. But I like to go see a movie, make my own opinion about the movie, come home and read and watch all the reviews, and just to compare. I just like hearing different viewpoints, but for me as an individual, I have never watched or read a review and said I am going to see a movie or not see a movie strictly because that one person said so.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. The whole idea of picking one person, one critic that will probably match my opinion about, I've never been able to pick that one person and have it last more than maybe a small handful of movies. I mean, even like my best friends that I know, like we always go see movies together, it's never going to be consistent all the time.
Dennis, movie critics on the information superhighway. What say you?
Yeah, I think they're good. I mean, Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, I think they're good as long as you know what they are. You know they're aggregator sites. You know that it's a compilation of a bunch of different scores. And it's more about, is this movie well liked versus what how good it is. So like you'll see, like Rotten Tomatoes, you see a lot of Pixar films will have very high ratings. That doesn't necessarily mean the movies are the 95% or 92% doesn't mean a score to it. Now Metacritic is a little different. They actually try and tabulate scores from reviews and put it together and have like a median score. But even still, I use those sites and I use them as guidelines. It's like, oh, are a lot of people gravitating toward this movie or not? And then it's not going to determine whether I'm going to see it or not, but it may further enhance maybe my expectations of it. If I see something's getting a really good score on either site, then I might think, okay, maybe this is actually going to be really good.
All right, well, that is all the time we have for today and for this week on Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank everybody, both behind the scenes and up here on the panels. Joining me, first of all, way over there, Miss Wendy Lee Zaney. Where can the kids find you?
You can find me, I don't know where my camera is. It's that one?
There you go. Nailed it.
You can find me on YouTube at The Movie Couple Channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Who's that to your right? Is that Sinead DeVries? Where can everybody find you?
I'm online at Sinead DeVries and at thatsocinead.com. Here on Mondays hosting TV Talk, on Fridays hosting Movie Talk, and hosting Mailbag over the weekend.
She's a little selective with Facebook, but she's got it where it counts. All right, Dennis, where can the kids find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng.
Perri Nemiroff, when you're not sleeping and or training for your marathon, where can everybody check you out?
You can see me having fun on Collider Nightmares every Wednesday and even more fun on Best of the Week every Saturday. And there's also Twitter and Instagram at P. Nemiroff.
Prime suspect for cheese thievery, John Rocha.
What? I would never. I like Swiss cheese. No, you guys can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Super Animation Game Time every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Geek and Sundry. Obviously every Friday here. And the Schmodown is coming. Dan Murrell, the title. It is time. It is time. We're 1 month away. Get ready. Get ready.
Your face is
Hold
almost
on
as
to
red
it.
as your shirt.
Why are you? Hold on to it. What am I doing here? I don't know. Why is Wendy screaming at me? I don't know why Wendy's screaming. I'm telling you right now, I'm coming for you. Get ready. February 17th. It's happening. The title's coming around. I've been fighting for a whole year. This guy couldn't get it done. He sucks. I'm coming to go get it now. Yeah, this guy. Baby Carrots. Yeah. He
Time I beat you. I remember that
Shut
too.
up. The time you lost.
Yeah.
So I'm coming now for you, Dan Murrell.
Guy's
Get
got
ready.
A month
Get
and
ready.
his blood pressure's already through the roof. Well, we do want to remind you guys that there is no movie talk on Monday because it is the holidays. So we will see you guys on Tuesday. I am merely at Mark Ellis Live. You guys can find me next week. I'm going to be in Seattle the weekend after that. Tempe. Tonight I'm at the world famous Comedy Store telling some jokes. Make sure you guys also check out amctheaters.com. That's where you go for all of your Showtime information. Go to collider.com. Go ahead and bookmark that page because that's where we go for a lot of the stories we bring to you guys each and every weekday. Thanks to all the crew. Thanks to you guys for a great week, and we will see you guys mañana. Is that tomorrow? Next week? Bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.